During the Christmas holiday season, there is no iconic character that is more recognizable to children than Santa Claus. Also known as Saint Nick, Father Christmas, or Kris Kringle, this character has a rich history that is steeped in Christmas traditions. Today, he is mainly thought of as a jolly man in a bright red suit who flies all around the world on a magical sleigh pulled by 8 tiny reindeer, and he delivers toys to all the good girls and boys. Every year, he graces our shopping malls, Christmas cards, decorations, and wrapping paper. But where did the legend of this iconic figure come from? The truth behind this legend can be traced back hundreds of years to the 3rd century, when a bishop named Nicholas walked the earth, and through his life of good deeds and devotion to helping the sick, the needy, and the suffering, eventually became the patron saint of children, sailors, and even prisoners. It is believed that Nicholas was born around the year 280 AD in Patara, near Myra, what is now part of modern-day Turkey. The original St. Nicholas was said to have been born to wealthy Greek parents who raised their son to be a devout Christian. After his parents died in an epidemic, it is told that he gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled throughout the countryside helping the poor and the sick. The legend of St. Nicholas states that he was quite pious and a defiant defender of church doctrine during the time of the Great Persecution, a time when Bibles were burned and priests were executed for their Christian beliefs. The legend also says that he spent years in prison for defying the Roman Emperor Diocletian. One of the most well-known tales from his life is a story of a time when he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery by their father. You see, their father, who had once been a wealthy man, had lost his fortune and now was very poor, and he could not afford a dowry for each of his daughters. Nicholas learned of the plight of the 3 girls, and for 3 consecutive nights, under the cover of darkness, St. Nicholas returned to the man's home and delivered a bag of gold each night. By providing the 3 sisters with a dowry, they could then be married. St. Nicholas died in the year 343 AD, and he was buried in Myra. However, the spirit of St. Nicholas lives on in the stories of his goodness. He lives on in the imaginations of children who believe in him, and he lives on in all of us who are gentle and kind to those in need. There are many other stories demonstrating the kindness and compassion of St. Nicholas, and over the years his popularity grew and he became known as a protector of children and sailors. By the Renaissance, St. Nicholas had become the most popular saint in Europe. His feast day is celebrated throughout many cultures on December 6th, which is the anniversary of his death. Around the 12th and 13th centuries, St. Nicholas's popularity among the saints rose because he was the patron saint of so many different groups. So how did St. Nicholas become the North Pole dwelling, toy-bearing, rosy-cheeked man of today? Throughout the years and many holiday traditions, St. Nicholas gained notoriety in American popular culture near the end of the 18th century when several Dutch families who settled in New York gathered together to honor the anniversary of his death. These families referred to St. Nicholas as Sinterklaas, which eventually evolved into the modern-day name of Santa Claus. In 1804, John Pintard from the New York Historical Society distributed woodcuts of St. Nicholas at the Society's annual meeting. The background on the engravings pictured the now familiar images of Santa. Later, in 1809, Washington Irving added to the popularity of the Sinterklaas stories when he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York when he wrote the book, The History of New York. Then, in 1822, Clement Clarke Moore, an Episcopal minister, penned a very long Christmas poem intended for his 3 daughters entitled An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas. The poem is now known as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." This poem is also mainly responsible for the modern-day image of Santa Claus. Eventually, Thomas Nast, a political cartoonist inspired by Moore's poem, created the first likeness of the modern-day Santa Claus. This cartoon depicted Santa as a plump, jolly man with a white beard, holding a sack filled with toys for all well-behaved children. It was Nast who gave Santa Claus his bright red suit, North Pole workshop, elves, and wife, Mrs. Claus. In due course, the story of Santa Claus was commercialized. In the 1820s, retail stores began advertising for Christmas shopping, and by the 1840s, newspapers had begun to follow the trends and had created whole sections just for holiday advertisements. These advertisements featured pictures of the now very popular iconic Santa Claus. One shop in Philadelphia even featured a model of a real-life Santa. America's 18th century Santa Claus is not the only St. Nicholas-inspired gift giver that makes an appearance during the holiday season. Similar figures in holiday traditions from around the globe have their own version of Santa Claus. Well-behaved Swiss and German children are believed to be visited by Kris Kringle or Christkind, a radiant angel that accompanies Kris Kringle. In Sweden and Scandinavia, a fairy elf similar to a garden gnome named Jultomten was thought to deliver gifts in a sleigh drawn by goats. There is an English legend that explains that Father Christmas visits each home on Christmas Eve to fill children's stockings with holiday treats. In France, Père Noël is responsible for filling the shoes of French children. In Russia, it is believed that an elderly woman named Babushka visits Russian children on January 5th. She leaves gifts at their bedsides in the hope that one of them is the baby Jesus, and she will be forgiven for tricking the 3 wise men. And in Italy, a similar story exists about a woman called La Befana, a good and kind witch who rides a broomstick down chimneys to deliver toys into the stockings of lucky children. Regardless of the form these gift givers take on during the holiday season, they all have one thing in common: to give the gift of happiness and joy to so many around the world. Have you ever felt extremely happy after giving someone a gift? Well, there is a reason for that. Giving a gift to another not only gives that person happiness and joy, but it gives our own spirit a lift and helps deepen the connections between us as human beings. So, let me ask you, do you believe in Santa Claus? Before you dismiss the idea that Santa Claus isn't real and that not believing in him is no big deal, just remember that he is a symbol of man's ability to conquer the self-seeking and vile nature that is ever present in our world. He is the spirit of giving and kindness that lives in all of us, no matter how old we become. And by believing in the idea of Santa Claus, it allows us to create a kinder, more caring world for each other, and it keeps our hearts filled with joy. This year, my greatest wish for all of you out there is that your lives are filled with imagination and wonder and lots of joy. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
about how I'm so lucky to have a place that I can come home to. Yes, I am on my way. We'll put our differences aside and just enjoy this moment of peace and love and happiness. We come together to celebrate. Yes, every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday represents, but it's fair to say that Christmas is a magic day. Yes, every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday.